What's up, Trunk Slayers? It's Monday. That means it is Spicy Monday. And I have a question for you on this spiciest of Mondays. Are you a solution looking for a problem? You find that a lot of my videos are actually the meta behind Spicy Monday is that a lot of my videos are actually secretly riffing on this concept to begin with, because most of our operational and scaling and marketing and sales problems in any business, but specifically in the IT space, come from this endemic habit of entrepreneurs of coming up with a solution to a problem they haven't defined or that only they have. And then after the solution's done, trying to figure out, oh, we need to find folks or businesses that have this problem so we can sell them the solution, which is not how business works. Which is probably why, as I've referenced in many videos, most MSPs, while they do grow a successful small business, right? Like I think $1 million, that's success. Stay there forever. In perpetuity. It's why so many of you take 20 years to hit, I hit 2 million in sales after our 20 years in business. It's why so many vendors stay under $10 million in revenue. It's frankly why there's so many vendors that do exactly the same thing. Weird. And all of it, and the reason why I talk about this in so many different ways so frequently, is a lot of this comes down to a fundamental lack of knowing what you're doing, which I say with love. We're all not good at something. It just so happens that many of you who get into running IT companies aren't very good at running IT companies. And whoops, it all comes back to that. And the sooner you have that moment of self-realization, that perhaps I've gone too far and I've created a solution and now I'm looking for a problem it will solve. The sooner you can catch that, stop, go back and right size that, the less literal sunk cost you'll have, the less mental and emotional fatigue you'll have, the less frustration you'll have. Just in general, everything will be better because you'll have the clarity of understanding that either I've taken my business in the wrong direction and I need to course correct, or I've taken my business in the wrong direction. I don't know how to course correct and I need help. A lot of it is just this idea that in order for me to be successful as an entrepreneur, I need to figure out something unique and creative. And something unique and creative, if I do it, well, then that'll equal good. And then that means more clients. Except there's a whole lot of math in that formula that no one ever bothers to do. And it's why, as are many things related to this, we see so many SMBs that plateau somewhere between $1 million and $3 million and never get any bigger than that, despite objectively being pretty great at everything else they do. It's why we see so many vendors that are either solving the exact same challenge in the exact same way. And you kind of wonder, it's like the old log truck joke, like you're on the highway and you pass a log truck going the same way as you, and then you see a log truck going the other way on the other side of the highway, and you're like, wait a minute, if they need logs over there and they need logs over there and they brought logs from there to there and logs from there to there, seems like a phone call could have fixed that, right? It's kind of that joke. Like we see this all the time in the vendor space where 15 different vendors will pop up doing the exact same thing, and you're like, wow, I feel like a phone call and there could have just been 3 of you. We see it all the time where there's some MSP that is relatively isolated from the space that will out of nowhere wake up and be like, I've created the best tool to do something that turns out has existed for 20 years and I had no idea, right? We see it all the time. We see so many manifestations of this idea that folks rush out to create solutions and then try to find problems for them to solve. My favorite example of this, if you are from the same time period as me, if anybody here has seen the original movie Gremlins, the dad in that movie, that's literally his job. He is the quintessential 80s goofball inventor who's created a bunch of objectively clever yet useless inventions because, just like we're talking about here, he is creating solutions and then hoping he can find a problem for them to solve. Because none of those things actually solve a problem anyone really has. This comes back to the, I think, most fundamental issue with the entire for-profit IT space, the single biggest issue, and it's not a lack of standardization on security standards, although that is a huge fucking problem. It's that y'all can't decide as a group if we're a commodity or if we are somehow some sort of custom service. And I vote commodity because it solves a lot of problems and it takes a lot of ego out of the situation, whatever. But this all boils down to, and this problem just adds fire, this idea of creating solutions and then finding a problem to solve, add fire to this whole issue our industry has of not being able to accept if we are offering a commodity or if we are doing something that for some asinine reason we've all agreed is truly going to be custom and bespoke. Hearing that, there are some of you that are probably going to say, well, I don't believe you, Dean. So if you're one of those people, then I challenge you. There's probably something that reasonably that you are knowledgeable enough in that others come to you for advice. It might not be IT and it might not be business. In fact, for a lot of you, it probably shouldn't be. But there's probably something. And you probably have some sort of a group, a forum, a group chat, something where you are in to offer whatever that is in your brain. So let me ask you a question. Whatever, go mentally visualize whatever that is for you. Maybe it's Harry Potter. Maybe the Richardsons and it's Harry Potter. Go with that. You're in the Richardsons Harry Potter Fire Wand group, which they are objectively more knowledgeable in than I am. Whatever that group is, you know the people who will go in and will ask a question. But the question is not stated around what problem they're trying to solve. The question is stated around a solution they have presupposed to the problem and their frustrations with implementing it. And in fact, if you go in and look at kind of any forum with that mindset, you'll realize that's most posts that are in most forums, is folks coming in, presupposing a solution, and then asking a question around it, rather than stating their root cause problem. It's why so many people get very defensive, because when you turn around and you tell them why that's wrong, you're not just explaining what the proper solution to their problem is, you're telling them that their presupposed solution was the wrong choice. You are now hitting their sunk cost fallacy and a bunch of other biases, yada, yada, yada. That's not the point. The point is that that's how a lot of people approach trying to work through things, right? And they already do this, and you're already used to seeing this, and you are probably already used to, in whatever that group is that you are slightly more expert than the average bear in, you are probably already used to getting this weird feeling that you get when a toddler asks you questions like, how come we can't just print more money, or like other like reasonable things for a 4-year-old to ask, but that any adult knows are the dumbest question because they're presupposing a solution to a problem. You get that sense, you're like, oh, isn't that so adorable? Like how just completely out of touch and dumb you are. Or like, oh, like, wow, you don't even know the depth of what you don't know. However that manifests for you, that feeling, that's what I'm talking about. That's how all of you make me feel all the time in this channel. And that's kind of where this whole comes back to, this idea of coming up with that solution and then going to hunt and find the problem for it. At your MSP, why does this matter? Why did anything I just said matter? Fundamentally, whether you try to make your service offering weird and custom or very standardized and commodity based, whatever, I'll yell at you in another video about that. If you do not understand the problems you are specifically solving for, if you don't inherently have those defined and well understood, no one you ever try to sell anything to is going to understand. And that's the thing I think a lot of you miss. This isn't just an MSP thing. This is an anything situation. You've seen that meme of two people in a crowded environment where the guy is trying to, it looks like he's trying to explain a complicated concept to the girl who is very much not paying attention. That's this. That is this idea manifest. If I went into a nightclub and I went up to a random group of women who were dancing with their shoes off, having the time of their life. And I said to them, hey, who wants to hear about Warhammer 40K? And they would all stare at me and be like, what are you doing? That's me presupposing the solution being that these young ladies have a deficit of knowledge in Warhammer 40K and want to learn and came out to the nightclub to learn it. That's the problem that I'm now trying to find to put my presupposed solution in, which is why that whole thing doesn't work. Weird, right? It's weird that nearly everything we would consider to be a sort of social faux pas, social anxiety, or otherwise would communicate in any sort of other media, TV, movies, music, to basically be the person who doesn't know how to communicate to anybody with the group that is rejecting that communication. It all boils down to this simple concept, folks, which is why at your MSP, where your goal, whether you're running a for-profit MSP or a for-charity, whatever kind of stupid-ass business model you have, you need clients. You need clients. And you're not going to get clients unless you shut up, stop trying to come up with solutions to things that don't exist, that are not defined problems. Go the other way. You need to start listening. You need to start paying attention. You need to learn what your clients want. You need to learn what problems your clients need solved. You need to stop assuming. You need to stop presupposing that you know more about what their problems are than they do. You know more about IT. Absolutely you do. But you don't know more about them and what's wrong for them. There's a little asterisk in that. I'll pull it back a little bit. This is why I'm a big advocate of best practices and standardization. I'm not saying that best practices and standardization work forever and work for everybody as they scale infinitely, but you're not infinitely scaled. You're not a $200 million MSP that has hundreds of FTEs. You're some guy or some lady who has probably under 30 staff members and has never ever figured out how to get bigger than that. You have objectively succeeded, right? Like, you have a functional business, you're paying people, you're keeping clients happy, but you are in no position to be thinking that you have the ability to deviate from best practice, which drives me fucking crazy when other smart people in this space who know better get up on stage and tell people to ignore best practice, because it's dangerous and unhealthy advice for this exact reason. If the folks in the room knew how to identify and understand the pain they were solving for, then obviously they'd know that best practice, which is the generally repeatable way to deliver what we do, fits those common pain points, which is weird. That's why it's best practice. But that's okay. You're definitely smarter than the rest of the industry. And I think that as you put on your industry version of hair draped over your eyes, your smoky raccoon eyes, your car seat buckle belt, your gingham socks, and your skinny leg jeans, you're definitely unique and different. And it's good that you're bucking the trend of best practice and being so different than everyone else. Stop creating solutions without identifying the problem first, everybody. Have a great Monday.